My name is Victoria, and I'm in my 30s working at a company. I married my husband, Tom, about 2 years ago. We didn't have our wedding at my request, but I was perfectly happy because I never thought I'd get married. Recently, my older sister, Rachel, contacted me to say she's having her wedding.
You didn't even have your wedding, did you? Poor thing. I'm going to have a big one.
When Rachel told me that, I was genuinely happy for her. The next day, my parents called me to come over to their house.
Don't come to Rachel's wedding.
She asked us to keep it a secret. Sorry.
I didn't understand what they meant. But yesterday, Rachel contacted me and told me she was having her wedding. Even after hearing my words, my parents didn't change their expressions and said,
She must have been really happy. She just had to tell you.
But she didn't say she was inviting you, right? You're too plain, and she doesn't want you there. Rachel likes flashy and beautiful things. You get it, don't you?
It's true that Rachel and I have opposite personalities. Unlike me, who is plain and avoids standing out, Rachel loves attention. And even in her 30s, she prefers flashy clothes and looks beautiful even to her younger sister. She doesn't seem to like me very much. And ever since we were kids, she's had a competitive spirit towards me, often taking things away from me. When she stole my boyfriend, I finally complained, but Rachel just smirked and said,
Well, I fell in love with him, so it can't be helped. And your boyfriend likes me better.
From that moment, I knew I could never get along with Rachel, and I've tried to keep my distance. At first, she would constantly brag to me, but recently we hadn't had much contact, so I thought she had finally gotten bored. But when she brought up her wedding, I thought she just wanted to show off. Don't come to the wedding. What does that even mean? Rachel's words felt so off that I decided to secretly peek in on her wedding day without telling my parents. And then I saw Rachel sitting as the bride, with Tom next to her as the groom. Of course, my parents were sitting in the family section. They must have recognized Tom as my husband, yet they looked happily at the couple. On top of that, my parents were holding a small boy I didn't know. While I was peeking, I saw two women walking towards the door where I was hiding. I quickly moved away from the door and quietly followed the two women as they came out. The two women headed to the restroom, so I waited a bit to avoid suspicion and then went in after them, hiding in a stall. The two women came out of the stalls and started chatting, probably while touching up their makeup. Tom just got divorced recently, and now he's already having another wedding? That's pretty shameless, don't you think?
And get this, the new bride is apparently his ex-wife's sister.
Seriously. Wow, that's a major turnoff. They were probably Tom's coworkers. It seemed Tom was spreading the word that he had divorced me.
He said he married his ex-wife for her money. Now that he's been promoted and doesn't need her anymore, he dumped her.
Wow, how can he go around bragging about something so awful?
He probably thinks it's some kind of heroic tale. Plus, his new wife is much flashier and prettier than the last one, so he wants to show her off.
Men's vanity is the worst. But isn't it weird that there are no bosses at the wedding? Just coworkers?
Yeah, right. Maybe there's something he doesn't want them to find out.
The two women left the restroom, laughing. I stepped out of the stall and looked at myself in the mirror. Actually, I had prepared myself for today's wedding in a certain way. Before getting married, when Tom approached me, I was puzzled as to why he chose me. Tom, are you sure you want to be with me? I'm sure there are better women for you out there.
Victoria, I want you. No, it has to be you. You don't need to put yourself down like that. Please be with me.
Tom encouraged me like that many times. That's why I decided to marry him. I told him about Rachel openly.
I told you, Victoria, you're the only one for me. Don't worry.
But I trusted Tom when he said that with a smile. However, this is the result. Tom changed so much after we got married that he seemed like a different person. He stopped doing any housework, and although he used to let me know when he was working late, after we got married, He sometimes didn't contact me and stayed out all night. Hey, could you at least let me know if you're going to be home late?
It's not my fault. It's overtime. Unlike you, I'm being worked to the bone on a low salary. You have it easy. You make more money than I do without doing much.
Even when I asked nicely, Tom would make snide remarks and brush me off. Yet, when he wanted something, he'd cozy up to me.
Hey, I really want this, but my salary isn't enough. You're better than me and make more money, right? Could you lend me some?
I knew I was being used by Tom, and today it was confirmed. Well, now I have no regrets. Any lingering feelings I had for Tom are gone, and it's time for some serious revenge. I went to Rachel and Tom's reception hall and spoke to one of the staff. I'm scheduled to give a speech as a friend of the couple today. It was supposed to be a surprise. Is it almost time? Smiling, I said this, and the staff confirmed through an earpiece.
Yes, everything will be ready shortly. Please wait a moment.
I waited as instructed.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a surprise for you. A close friend of both the bride and groom has prepared a special speech. Please welcome them.
As this announcement was made, the doors to the hall opened. I walked in confidently under the spotlight. Standing in front of the microphone, I turned to face the bride and groom. Rachel and Tom were frowning, unable to recognize me even though they were looking right at me. I began to speak clearly into the microphone so everyone could hear. Thank you for the introduction. I'm a friend of the bride and groom. But actually, I'm not a friend. I'm the bride's sister and the groom's wife, Victoria. My voice echoed through the silent reception hall. Rachel and Tom, upon hearing my name, finally realized who I was and stared at me wide-eyed. It was understandable. For today's event, I had hired professional hair and makeup artists and a stylist, transforming myself into someone almost unrecognizable. I spared no expense on my outfit and makeup, opting for the most luxurious choices, and hired the best professionals. Even I was astonished by my transformation. For Rachel and Tom, who always looked down on me as plain, my dramatic change must have been shocking. I apologize to everyone attending today for my unexpected presence. I should have been sitting in the family section, but both Rachel and my parents repeatedly told me not to come to this wedding. The room started to buzz with murmurs. I believe everyone here thinks that Tom and I are already divorced. Some of you might even think I'm a stalker for showing up here, but that's not the case. The truth is, Tom and I are still married. In fact, there hasn't been any talk of our divorce at all. Tom and I are still legally married. If you don't believe me, I'll show you our marriage certificate or whatever proof you need. I smiled warmly at the guests, and the murmuring grew louder.
Hey, don't ruin my wedding.
Yeah, I understand your feelings, but today is Rachel's special day. Can't you just let it go for today?
Rachel snapped back at me, and my mom tried to calm me down. I listened and then deliberately put on a sorrowful expression. Mom is right. Today is Rachel's big day. I wanted to be here to celebrate her. When Rachel and our parents told me not to come, I was really heartbroken. I took out a handkerchief and pretended to wipe away my tears, and the atmosphere in the hall shifted to one of sympathy for me, while Rachel looked visibly annoyed. Since we were young, Rachel always seemed to dislike me. I only had hand-me-downs from Rachel. Even when I finally got something new for my birthday, I was told to give it to Rachel. Still, I loved Rachel, and I thought making her happy by giving up my things was the right thing to do. When she stole my boyfriend, I complained, but I told myself it was understandable because Rachel was so beautiful. Our parents also said it was only natural. As I revealed Rachel's and my parents' actions, the guests' attention turned to them. My dad avoided eye contact, and my mom looked around nervously. Rachel glared at me and yelled,
Stop bringing up the past. This is why I hate ugly and plain girls like you. You're so spiteful.
Oh, if you don't want to talk about the past, let's talk about the present. You and our parents excluded me from this wedding with Tom, even though we're still married. And since you hate plain and ugly girls, I went all out to dress up for you. Didn't you like it? Rachel was at a loss for words. Looking around at the guests, half of them had expressions of disbelief or confusion, while the other half were trying to suppress laughter. The confused ones were probably those who had been told beforehand that Tom and I were divorced, and the ones amused were those who had some inkling of the situation. I had obtained the seating chart in advance, so considering the relationships between the guests and the bride and groom, I didn't think anyone would stop my speech. As I expected, the only ones trying to stop me were Rachel and my parents. Interestingly, Tom, the other party involved, was still in a state of shock. Well, as I mentioned earlier, Rachel and my parents' behavior is nothing new. But I never expected my own husband, Tom, to be so outrageous. When I shifted the focus to Tom, he flinched.
Victoria, it's not what you think. This is.
In this situation, how can you say that? What's so different about it? I shot a sharp glance at Tom, and he started to stammer.
No, it's just. Rachel begged me. She's still single, you know? She said, I can't stand Victoria getting married before me. Please have a wedding with me. So I thought just a wedding would be okay. A ceremony doesn't require registration. I know it was wrong not to tell you, but I felt sorry for Rachel since she's your older sister.
Tom, with a strained smile, started to make excuses. So, once this wedding is over, you're saying you would cut ties with Rachel and continue our marriage? For some reason, Tom's face lit up at my question, misunderstanding it completely.
Yes, Rachel and I are just for today. After today, everything goes back to normal.
And you're saying you love me?
Of course. I told you, you're the only one for me.
Hearing Tom's words, I couldn't help but break into a big smile. But it wasn't because I was happy with his words.
What are you talking about? Just one day with me. After this grand wedding, there's no way. Victoria, too bad for you. Your precious husband is crazy about me.
Hey!
Tom tried to stop Rachel, but she snapped at him too.
What? It's true. Right after marrying Victoria, you started having an affair with me. You're always saying, I only married that plain girl for her money, while Rachel is the one I truly love.
Ignoring Tom's frantic attempts to intervene, Rachel continued to yell. Then she turned to me with a triumphant smile.
Plus, I have something you could never have, a child with Tom. Mom and Dad are thrilled to have a grandchild. Too bad for you. You have no place here, so why don't you just leave?
Rachel glanced at the child in our parents' arms, declaring her victory. I couldn't help but laugh. Rachel, not understanding why I was laughing, began to get even more agitated.
What is wrong with you? Stop laughing like a freak and get out.
Rachel yelled at me, and I forced myself to stop laughing. Oh, that was hilarious. Sorry, I just couldn't help it. I never thought it would go this perfectly. I pulled an IC recorder out of my bag. Thank you for confessing your affair. You've saved me the trouble of gathering evidence. I deliberately made Tom say, I loved you because I knew that would push Rachel to start talking. I never imagined she would confess so perfectly.
That evidence is invalid. I can just say you threatened me into saying it.
Rachel tried to make a weak excuse. Oh, I have plenty of other evidence of your affair. This is just the icing on the cake, I calmly informed Rachel. When Rachel and my parents told me not to come to the wedding, I already suspected something between her and Tom. Rachel's behavior, always trying to outshine me, made it odd for her not to invite me to the wedding. It was easy to imagine her trying to steal Tom to feel superior. The private investigator I hired quickly gathered evidence of Tom and Rachel's affair. I had known about the wedding, but until today, a part of me still wanted to trust Tom. However, seeing him sitting proudly in the groom's seat destroyed any lingering affection or trust I had, and I was ready for my counterattack. Rachel, get ready to pay the alimony for your affair. By the way, if you have a hidden child, the alimony amount increases. So be prepared. Rachel started yelling again.
No way. Why should I pay you?
Ignoring Rachel's complaints, I moved on to the next part. Now it's time for the next surprise. Since I came here as a surprise guest, I have another surprise prepared. Here they are. As I called out loudly, the main doors opened and 5 women entered the hall. The 5 women, all in their 20s, varied in appearance. Some had long hair, some short, some were cute, and some had a strong, beautiful look. At first glance, they didn't seem to have much in common, but I didn't miss Tom's sudden change in expression when he recognized them. So, can anyone guess who these women are? There was no response from the room. Only Tom's eyes were darting around nervously. Even Rachel, who had been yelling earlier, furrowed her brows in suspicion. Tom, you know all of them, don't you? I said with a cheerful smile, and Tom visibly tensed. The answer is, they are all Tom's girlfriends.
What?
Rachel was the first to react to my words. Clearly, she hadn't known. When I hired a private investigator to look into Tom and Rachel, I was shocked to find out there were 5 other women involved. It's bad enough that he was cheating with Rachel, but finding out there were 5 more really surprised me too. By the way, some of them were misled into thinking he was single, and others knew it was an affair but were promised marriage. Each one of them was told, "You're the only one for me. I love you." All 5 women looked at Tom with teary or angry eyes. Tom's face contorted in fear.
What is going on here?
Rachel screamed hysterically, blaming Tom. The 5 women also surrounded Tom, closing in on him.
Get out of here. This is my and Tom's wedding. You were just flings.
You're just a mistress too, since you're not legally married.
Rachel and one of the mistresses were yelling at each other, while the other 4 women crowded around Tom. Tom tried to placate everyone with a strained smile, looking terrified. I watched the 7 of them for a while, curious to see what would happen next.
You only received words of love. Unlike you, I have the ultimate proof of love, a child with Tom. I did what even his wife, Victoria, couldn't do. That makes me different from all of you.
Rachel looked triumphantly at the rest of us, while the 5 women grimaced in frustration. I remained calm. By the way, before Tom and I got married, we had a premarital checkup. Everyone turned to me with surprised faces as I began to speak.
What are you suddenly talking about?
Rachel snapped, but I continued. We both went for the checkup, but I went alone to hear the results because Tom said it was fine for me to handle it. We were both healthy, but there was one issue Tom didn't know about.
What?
Tom, taken aback, looked more shocked than I expected.
What do you mean? Why didn't you tell me right away? Am I sick?
Tom seemed to think he had a serious illness. I calmly corrected him. No, like I said, we're both healthy. But there was one issue with Tom's fertility test. Tom, you have azoospermia. The previously noisy hall fell completely silent at my words.
What? Azoospermia? Me? That's a lie, right? You're just saying that to get back at me because I was horrible to you.
Tom couldn't accept the truth, but I decided to make him face reality. Sure, I'm getting back at you, but unfortunately, this is true. I even brought the medical report with the test results. Do you want to see it for yourself? I threw the envelope containing the medical report towards the groom's seat. The envelope fell short of the groom's seat due to the distance, but Tom pushed past the women to pick it up. His hands were shaking as he pulled out the report.
It really says, I have azoospermia.
In disbelief, he kept reading the report over and over. It was my idea to have a premarital checkup. When I was about to marry Tom, I thought it would be unfair to him if there was something wrong with my body. If I'm infertile, Tom, you can leave me and have kids with someone else. I had confided in Tom before the checkup.
Kids or no kids, it doesn't matter to me. It's you I want to be with, Victoria. But knowing our health status is important, so I'll take the test with you.
We ended up getting the premarital checkup together. In hindsight, Tom probably wanted to show his kindness to me as part of his plan to get married. He never imagined that such a casual checkup would reveal his infertility. I hadn't told Tom about his infertility because I didn't think it was necessary. Tom had said kids were optional, so I thought there was no need to burden him with that painful truth. But now the situation had changed, and there was no reason for me to keep it a secret any longer.
Then whose child is that?
Tom's gaze turned to the child in my parents' arms, and everyone in the hall followed suit. The child, perhaps completely exhausted, was sound asleep despite all the noise. Both my dad and mom averted their eyes, as if trying to escape the scrutiny. Maybe they had also considered the possibility.
What are you implying? Are you saying I cheated? Of course, it's Tom's child. Victoria, you faked that report to trap me, didn't you?
I firmly denied Rachel's accusation. Forging a medical report is a crime. I wouldn't go that far. If you doubt it so much, why don't you and Tom go to the hospital? While you're at it, get a DNA test for the child. Rachel swallowed her words, seemingly struck by my suggestion. She must have some idea of the truth.
What do you mean? You said it was my child, so I acknowledged it.
Of course, it's your child. Victoria is lying.
Then let's do a DNA test.
How dare you doubt me? Apologize to the child.
Rachel and Tom started arguing, and the 5 women joined in. It was clear the reception was over. Seeing that, I silently left the venue. When I got home, I left a completed divorce form and a lawyer's business card in the living room, and then I left the house. Even though Tom had been coming home frequently, he never noticed that I had packed my things in advance. A few days later, I received a call from an unknown number.
Victoria, what do you think you're doing?
Rachel screamed at me. You're loud. Can you calm down a bit?
I can't calm down. You ruined my wedding. I was counting on Tom to support me, and you ruined my plans. Take responsibility.
Rachel continued to rant like a machine gun.
You insulted me in front of all those people, so I'm going to sue you for defamation. You better be ready.
That's fine with me. In return, I'll make sure to claim the alimony I haven't asked for yet, so you better be ready too. By the way, if you're going to sue for defamation, you'll need to hire a lawyer. Do you even have the money for that? I replied calmly, and Rachel was momentarily lost for her words. You were the one who acted unreasonably first. I'm just retaliating, and don't bother running to mom and dad for help. I've been financially supporting them, but I cut them off, so they don't have any money either. Since I started working, I had been financially supporting my parents. Part of me wanted to gain some recognition from them, who always prioritized Rachel. But after this incident, I was finally done. I'm no longer involved with any of you. Tell mom and dad that too. I told Rachel and hung up the phone. After that, I changed my phone number. No one knows where I live since I left the house I shared with Tom. I explained the situation to my company, and after a leave of absence, they arranged for me to transfer to a branch in a completely different area. Tom, Rachel, and my parents can only contact me through my lawyer. The divorce process with Tom took some time, but we finally divorced under the condition that I wouldn't demand alimony and wouldn't reveal the scandal to anyone. One day, my lawyer handed me a letter from Tom.
I never imagined you could become so beautiful, Victoria. I regret my foolish actions every day. I'm still devoted to you. I believe you must be lonely without me. Let's start over together.
The letter was full of things to criticize, but I ignored it to avoid the hassle of responding. If he becomes too persistent, I'll consider using the alimony as leverage or getting a restraining order. By the way, I haven't heard from Rachel, but my parents sent a letter through the lawyer as well.
We deeply regret not considering how much we hurt you. We made a huge mistake. Rachel left, abandoning her child. We have neither money nor help, and we don't know what to do. You must be lonely too. Why don't we start over as a family again?
Their letter was strangely similar to Tom's, which made me laugh. To them, I was always just a convenient person. I used to be hurt by them, but now that Tom and my parents have become insignificant to me, I don't feel anything anymore. I'm determined to look forward and do my best in my new life.